Oh, lullaby to burden, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never my words, and could there be ways to reveal in the phrase how I feel? Have you ever heard two turtle doves, pale and cool, when they love? That's a kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And it's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how they cried in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birds and whisper low, kiss me sweet when we go, flying high birds and high in the sky up above. Oh, because we love. That's a kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weeping old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how they cried in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby the birds and whisper low, kiss me sweet, and we'll go flying high above and high in the sky up above. Oh, because we there's something in your eyes makes me wanna lose myself, makes me wanna lose myself in your arms. There's something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope this feeling lasts the rest of my life. If you knew how lonely my life has been, and how low I felt for so long. If you knew how I wanted someone to come along and change my life the way you've done, feels like home to me, feels like home to me, feels like I'm all the way back where I come from.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Hello and good morning. My name is Sharon Litsky, and on behalf of the Activities Committee here at the Metropolitan Club in San Francisco, I'm happy to welcome you to one in our series of online presentations. For over 100 years, the Metropolitan Club for Women has been providing athletic, cultural, educational, and social activities for its members, their families, and their guests. I want to thank my dear friends, Michelle Chang and Tim Eichens, for providing such a wonderful way to start today's program. You'll officially meet Michelle and Tim in a few minutes as we present them in conversation with Karen Lyle. As your questions arise during today's presentation, please write them in the chat box at the bottom of your screen, and Karen will present them at the later in the program. But before I turn the program over to Karen to introduce Michelle and Tim, I'd like to tell you a little about Karen, because she founded these weekly Wednesday morning online programs when the pandemic began, and I don't think she was ever officially introduced to you. She has a long and remarkable professional resume, but I'll just mention a few of her accomplishments. Karen is the host of Sail Sport Talk, a weekly syndicated show where she interviews celebrities from the world of sailing. The show is broadcast to 82 million people in 168 countries on Sports Byline USA, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and the American Forces Network. She was also the art director and patron for over 700 live events of classical and jazz music in venues ranging in size from 100 to 5,000 audience members. We feel fortunate to have Karen as a member of our club. And now I turn our program over to Karen.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And you know, your long history with the Activities Committee and the many beautiful events that you have brought to the club before I even joined precedes you. And I certainly appreciate this introduction to Michelle and Tim for today's presentation. And so I'd like to have Michelle and Tim unmute themselves. Actually, I'll be talking to Michelle first, but we can add her to the screen with us if you would please, Brianna. Thank you. Michelle, I just so enjoyed those beautiful pieces. You were next to a beautiful fireplace. Where was the location for that performance?
That was in Berkeley in a city club. Yeah,
the Berkeley City
so,
Club.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a beautiful place.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
have you been to
doing
that
a lot
room?
of outreach for different nonprofit efforts. Tell us a little bit about that particular one.
So that was a fundraising concert for the Immigrants Children's Right fundraising concert. And I thought that was a very good cause and I wanted to support that event. So then we gave that concert. That was last year.
It's beautiful, Michelle. Well, things have
Thank you.
changed a little bit. We're all on pause as far as live performances, except for by Zoom and other limited situations. But tell us a little bit, let's go to your history and talk a little bit about how you first became interested in opera and what your beginning was.
Well, you know, actually, it started just actually a coincidence when I was 7 years old. A piano teacher moved into our neighborhood and she was looking for students and I was at the right age, seven years old, and she picked me and I started playing piano. And another occasion was a year later, I joined a children's choir, and ever since I've been playing piano, been singing, and it was not like fairy tale, you know, someone discovered me or my parents found my talent. It was actually more like a coincidence. And I think the only reason I'm still playing piano and singing is I just never quit. I like it so much and I just never stopped doing it.
Well, that's something that I've heard as a common theme for many musicians is beginning from the very, very young age, knowing exactly what they wanted to do. So you just became enraptured with the music.
You know, when I started, I didn't see a picture for a future or anything. I just enjoy doing my music lessons and actually the determination came after when I started in Taipei, in Taiwan, where I was born, a music program that was a artist high school for gifted children, for sports and music and dance and theater. And even there, it was a coincidence that I found out about that program and I took the exam and I passed. When I went there, I didn't have a picture about career or about profession, about what it's like to be an opera singer. Actually, just because I like to sing, I like to play piano. That's all. And that actually the sense of this could be something more than just liking it came actually later. Yeah. So, and
Well,
that
I
was
think that's so important for us to know, for our children and our grandchildren, is that we, if we can present music so that it becomes an intrinsic part of the children's lives, so that it's something that they can see and discover a relationship to, then who knows where the
yeah,
path is going to go. But it's
exactly.
not really, you know, the thing about competitions I found is that they um, they foster the more I want to be best, or the status, honor, and those are very good motivators. But the intrinsic motivation that comes from the joy of being able to do it is something that really can sustain you, especially through a pandemic, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But you know, I was lucky. My parents were never like pushing me to do something, even for the piano or singing. Uh, just because I stick around with piano lessons and voice lessons, they supported me this way. So
When did you first become exposed to opera?
when I was in high school, I majored in voice performance, and my teacher, who just came back from Milan after 20 years, she was the person really introduced us to opera. Before it was just like Western music. I played Mozart, I played Bach, I sang Italian pieces, but it was not so concrete until my voiceless teacher introduced us. There is a performing art with a specific types of voices and with the drama and everything. And then I think she said something to us that changed my life. She said, well, you know, instead of spending another 4 years for the college in Taiwan, she suggested everyone should just go to Europe to start to continue the education where the opera was born. And because you know, as a student, you listen more to what teachers say than your parents. So then I followed her advice. Then I went home and I told my parents about, you know, going to Europe and studying music and opera. So that's actually how it started.
Well, and they supported you in going to Europe, which was a marvelous thing. Yes.
Yes, yes, indeed, especially for opera singing and performing. I
So
just
where did you study in Europe? What was your destination?
so I went to Germany first. I I applied in different uh, colleges, universities, three in Germany, different places in Italy, and then later on in Vienna. So I was a teenager, first time out of my parents' how do you say protection, and in Germany, Heidelberg, Mannheim was the first university that I entered. I took the exam, and 2 weeks later, before even the second exam date came up, they already notified me I passed the exam. And then I say, okay, here you go. I just take it and I stay here, and I cancel all the other exams and started living in Germany. And actually, it turned out that was a great decision because the university was very well organized with credentials and credits and how many semesters you have to take this subject to be in order to continue your education and so on. So I earned my bachelor after 4 years as planned, and then I had another master 2 years in the same university in Heidelberg Mannheim. And the second, my master actually was in music education, because after my vocal performance bachelor degree, for the very first time in my life, 20 years beginning of my 20 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I felt a little bit lost, and I didn't really have a mentor to describe me, to tell you what to do. Okay, great, I had this degree, but then what? It's not that the doors just opened and waiting for you to join. And so then I decided, I said, I asked my colleagues and friends, and I decided to, you know what? Not everyone is born to perform and to stay, to have a great career and be famous. So I decided to have a music education program. And actually that helped me, because now I teach, and I really benefited from my education. It's because I have this education degree. I know how to describe things to my students, and how to pass on my knowledge to the next generation. And I feel equally proud as a teacher, as an educator, and as a performer.
Michelle, we have a video that I would love to share at this time. I believe this was in Switzerland, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, maybe we
was in
can watch
Switzerland.
the video and then talk a little bit more about that how you came to Switzerland and how you were involved in more of the details of that. Brianna,
Okay.
would you be so kind as to share that? Michelle, when I first saw that performance, I was just so moved. It was truly beautiful. You conveyed the emotion as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about how you create that feeling of first time every time you perform on a stage when it isn't the first time for you because you have spent so much time preparing. Can you tell us a little bit about your process?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's the quality of a good musician and performer, that you always try to give the audience that this was special and that's your first time. What I do is, before I go on stage, particularly for this aria, I had a little bit time backstage. And I try to think about the storyline, what was before. And in this occasion was, I was going to apologize to my lover who I insulted previously. And I had this great plan how to win him back to my heart. So, and then I was just trying to think, yes. So there are 3 stages of this aria. The first one was, I was talking to my mate, I'm going to succeed. And then the second part was, I try to think about the great memories that I think I have the chance to win him back. And then the last part was, I already envision how bright and happy our future will be. So I try to gather these 3 elements. First, I'm going to speak with my mate, wish me luck, it's going to go well. And the second part was, look, we shared such great memories, so it's going to be good. Oh, of course it's going to be good. So, and then I can see the future, yay! And then go walk on the stage. Yeah, so that's how I particularly prepare this one. And every time I have to say, I always look forward to it. Because one time when we were preparing a performance, and then our piano coach asked me a very, very good question, which I always remember. He asked me, Michelle, why are you nervous? And then I said, yeah, because I don't know how it will turn out. And then he said, if you are worried about the preparation that you haven't finished, then it's too late, because you're supposed to be ready today and now. So if you are nervous because it's like butterflies in your stomach, because you want to present in a nice way, and that's healthy and that's good. So now when I am nervous, I ask myself, am I nervous because I feel I'm not ready yet? And that's a bad sign. So I try to prepare myself every time I'm nervous, because I look forward to something and it's an excitement, not because I'm nervous about, oh, what can go wrong? Oh, so many things can go wrong. And then I remember that, and that's too late. Okay, so that's how I prepare myself for different performance and event. Be nervous is okay, but don't feel underprepared. That makes you nervous, and that's not good.
Well, if you have a good foundation, like you say, you've prepared, you know your music, you've practiced, you've warmed up, you've studied the drama of the performance, and you've worked with the director or whoever is coaching you on that, or yourself if it's your own performance. Then there's a certain amount of change that happens to your body when you go into a performance. It seems that the adrenaline comes up, and so it's an entirely different experience, and nothing can do but practice, right, in front of that audience.
You know, that's where I think the music is so powerful. The music, it helps me really to build up this emotion that I am trying to show and to give and to explain, especially in this Martha aria, Lady Harriet. It has so clear different layers of my emotion. First, I'm nervous, not sure about the outcome. And then looking back, this melodic, romantic melody, the great time we shared, and then the positive energy, bang, 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 that intro from the orchestra, that really gives me the boost. And then every time I really burst out before I even sang, I already look forward, you know what, there's such a great message I'm going to share. You will be so thrilled to hear. And then the ending is so powerful. Oh gosh, when I sit down on that bench, I really feel like this is really a great present that I have every night. It's better than a Michelin star dinner for me. I just feel like I'm so lucky to have that, to be able to enjoy in that kind of excitement when I perform.
It's a three-course delightful operatic musical piece.
Yes, yes, yes.
This particular opera that you did, you also helped to found a new opera company, and you were trying to accomplish something to set an example for small opera companies so that there could be more opera companies with maybe more limited resources. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started that or what's involved? And I realize that that's a many-hour conversation. So just touch on a few of the elements.
Okay.
What's involved behind the scenes.
So the Folks Opera Zurich company was founded 2014, and a very good singer colleague approached me. He said, look, here is the business plan that I wrote. I would like you to co-found the Folks Opera Zurich with me. And we've been singing together. We shared many good concerts. And then I look at him like, me? Really? Do I look like I can do the administration work? And then he said, don't say a thing. Just go home and read the business plan. And first I thought, this is such a big shoes to fit. I don't think I can raise so much money. I like the idea is to bring the music to everyone, because in Zurich and I believe many places, the opera has become more expensive because many things involved. So not everyone can afford a reasonable ticket to go and see opera. So, and Folks Opera, the name reveals already, it should be reasonable. It's like almost the price that you're going to the cinema to watch a movie, between 30 francs, which is $30, to $60. That's the idea. So, and then the pieces are not the mainstream operas like Madame Butterfly, Magic Flute, or Traviata. It's operetta, almost like American musicals. So it's more entertaining, and the stories are more everyday life. So, and I really like the idea to bring culture opera to everyone in a reasonable price. Otherwise, who is going to see us perform if the tickets is $200? So then the idea was born, and I agreed to do that. And for the very first time, I actually discovered it's so much fun to plan something from scratch. It is a lot of work, but thankfully, because being on stage for years, I knew how the production should come together. But the fundraising part, that was the part I had to learn. So But little by little, we wrote many letters to foundations, to the city, to the states. We got the money. So the first production we had $250,000 Swiss francs, about $250,000. We started Marta. We picked the piece because, first of all, it's a great music, and it's a gray zone between opera and operetta. So operetta has more dialogues like musicals, and then you play a little bit more theater, and opera is mainly singing, less dialogues. And this operetta had some dialogues, but not overwhelming a lot. So we thought that was a very good piece to start with. So I found many people from the Opera Zurich that I work with, our staging director, our conductor, both from the Opera House Zurich, and of course, some of my colleagues joined the solo cast, and I was able to do the audition. You know, before I was the nervous one singing, and they have, you know, casting people watching you, judging you, and now I was on the other end to see singers coming in and to do the audition. And it took us maybe all the preparation from starting to the premiere was about 1 year, because it was the first one, and the most part was fundraising, but we succeeded. So, and we also toured to the other cities in Switzerland. And unfortunately, after Marta, my husband's job sent us to San Francisco. I wasn't able to continue the Volksopera Zurich. So the second production was just about to start, and I left. I'm still very sad about that, and more sad about after I left. Yeah, things fell apart. So I feel like I still have unfinished business in Switzerland that I have to go back and to continue.
Well,
Yeah,
you came here because of your
husband's
work?
job.
Right.
Yes.
And
so
luckily, you're just recently to San Francisco.
4.5 years. Wow,
4.5
time
years.
flies. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Well,
yeah,
we're so honored to have you, and
Thank you.
certainly welcome you to San Francisco. Of course, you've been established well enough that you were already going to perform for the Metropolitan Club in an event this fall before the pandemic happened, and so I'm sure
Yes.
that will be rescheduled, and we'll have an opportunity to hear you live. I'd like to share next our the next video, which introduces Tim Eichens, who is also part of our lecture conversation today. And so, Brianna, would you, first of all, I might mention that this was part of the outreach that you've done here in San Francisco Bay Area, and you were doing this performance for Autodesk, and this was sharing opera with an educational focus with the words on a screen with the employees of Autodesk and their guests. Right. And so we'll go ahead and segue into that video and then talk a little bit about and introduce Tim at that time.
Io non trovavo su questo cor che t'ama, che ti sospira brama, che te solleva. Immagine spariva, tenesi amori vita, unita al nostro sole, terra incesora, unita al nostro sole, incesa. Vieni, in terra incesa, vedi al mio cuore che te sospira, e di te solo si sorvivrà. Oh, sì, si sorvivrà.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate that performance. Maybe we can have Tim join us now, since Tim was part of that and he is here as our guest presenter. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you? Thank you.
I really appreciate the beautiful piano in your east wing there.
Yes, I wish it was my east wing. Thank you.
So Tim, this is something that that you've been involved with for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about how you met Michelle, and you are also a singer, and so with both baritone and tenor qualities. So you have both of you play the piano and sing. Tell me a bit about this new relationship.
Well, Michelle and I met at a musical event and ended up finding out that we lived very close together. We actually lived just 2.5 blocks apart. And so we forged this wonderful musical relationship that I'm so grateful for. I don't know, piano has always been something that I've been extremely fond of, and I actually started with piano before voice myself. So the marriage of the two coming together, understanding language and intention with music, but then also being able to play the piano and support singers, that's just been the biggest joy for me, is the collaborative piano part of music. It's just thrilling for me to be on those keys like you saw and supporting somebody doing this beautiful bel canto aria. Just so much fun.
Well, and I imagine with that shared musical background, you both have education and knowledge of the music, that you have many good conversations as you're developing a piece together. Tell us anything that you might share from what that experience is like for you, working with Michelle in developing a piece where we're going to play one later where the both of you are singing. Yes.
Well, as you can see, Michelle, I mean, performing at such a level, I have learned so much in these just past few years from her. I believe I know how to approach music, but Michelle digs into the music itself, the harmony, what the composer was looking for, the intention of the words used to create this lovely aria. And so we dig kind of deep into that. We come with our ideas about what we think things mean, what the composer might have wanted to express in that moment, and then we make it our own. And I think that's the funnest part, is when we get to the spot where we both feel like we've worked on this really hard and we know what the music's about. We've done all of our hard work. I heard you speaking about nerves, and I was sitting here nodding like, yes, the only time that I feel like I'm worried is when I just haven't had enough time inside of the music. But with Michelle, this collaboration, we really work in a practice format to the point like where we are performing, and we run the program straight through many, many times before we make it to the stage. And that just makes it so delightful, because then we are just in the moment. And, you know, if there is a mistake, that's just part of the performance then. And you probably didn't hear mistakes in that last aria. Of course, me sitting here like grimacing, I could have done a little better there or here, you know. But it's just such a joy to bring that forward, and that educational aspect. What I love mostly about Michelle is just this ability to build community and to take this music places besides the opera stage. It's just a joy to shop it around town, and to word of mouth, we get gigs, and just spend the time in the music is really thrilling.
Well, and I think bringing this into the corporations is a great idea as well. So what was the Autodesk employee response for this performance you did?
It was rather unbelievable. Michelle probably didn't get to enjoy as much of that as me as I go back to my desk right after that performance. But I did share a lot of the responses, and people were really blown away. I had never brought my musical life to work, and I've worked at Autodesk for 22 years, and just never found the right moment to do that. And with this particular event, we were actually honoring administrative assistants at Autodesk. And so that was the theme of that particular performance. But we opened it up to the entire company, and we did it as a live feed. So we actually have those videos, as you saw. And bringing it into my workplace was a little daunting for me, because I didn't want to make mistakes, and people, you know, some people had known about this part of my life, but to bring someone like Michelle in to present, you know, what I do with music, what we did with music together that day, people were blown away. I mean, the place was full, and it was standing room only in the back. You couldn't see that from the particular angle, but it was just so well received. And I think there's opportunity there to do more. And it does let me understand a little bit about how much this means to people, the vibration and the joy, and having those words there with text. You know, both music and language are very complicated systems, but when we put them together in music, it is just such a joy.
Well, also at this point, I would like to open this up to conversations, and I'm going to put my chat next to me so that I can see. We have many people in attendance and listening to our conversation, so it's a good thing we're not nervous here, right? In our home, it's a little easier. We don't see everybody in front of us. But I'm hoping that those of you who are listening would like to ask questions and have some thoughts in mind, and it can be knowing that both of these beautiful musicians have a background in music, and it can even be about something that we haven't talked about, but that you might have wondered about, opera or classical music, or something that you'd like to comment. Sharon has a question. She says, what advice would you give to young people just starting out?
Oh, don't become a professional musician. Go to some IT company. That's what I always think. You know, sometimes I think it is so hard to survive being a musician in the city. And but yet, if it's the true passion, it is the passion. I only can say, work very hard, stick with your dream, and really be true to yourself. And most of all, just be happy with what you do. Because if you are happy, you bring this happiness to the other people, And then that is the reward and the success you can
I
have.
agree. I agree with you, Michelle. I think it's important if you feel the need to learn and study music, go for it. It is a wonderful thing to have in your life. And for me, it's served me so well. Although it is not my primary way to survive in the world, I knew that music would always be a part of what I do. There's no escaping it. You can't escape the muse.
Well, if it takes you, then you're engrossed. There's no way
Yes.
around
There's no way around
that.
it.
It's just, and there is something. I have I was recently approached by a Phi Beta Lambda state chapter to talk to their young college students who are all into business, and their whole entire focus is business administration or business this or that. And they said, what advice would you give? And I'm thinking art, opera, music. And and the reason is because if you have this culture and this love and passion for these beautiful arts that are developed going back centuries, then it gives you things to say when you're traveling in society where you may not know, or maybe you're not belong to that particular class or that particular group, but you have a place of conversation that can be uniting to others. And so for young people, no matter what their profession, I really believe that music and art and the study of the fine arts and performance and just the experience of actually doing it yourself and learning how to do it is so important. It's something that enriches everybody's life. It doesn't matter what their profession would be, in my opinion.
You know, especially I think being an artist also within the time has changed a little bit. When I was still studying, my focus was really how to work on the musicianship and to become a good musician and become a good singer. But it didn't involve how to become a businesswoman. And I think this is very important to nowadays to also to know how to be not only a good singer, but also a good entertainer and businesswoman and ideas to create beyond the music. Like the concert at Autodesk, I wanted to explore and something new. So using, because it's a technology company, they have all these beamer and projectors, everything, and then technicians to support us. So I was able to project while I was singing with the lyrics and translation. And I felt so good because while I was singing, I feel even more connection and communication with my audience. Because in the past, I always heard, yeah, you sing in Italian, in French, and I don't understand a word. I fall asleep. I don't want to spend $300 and then fall asleep and don't understand a word. And for a concert, we didn't have this luxury like an opera stage. You have subtitle. So that's something new I really am trying to do wherever I perform. If there is a chance, a spot to have a projector, I really like to try to embrace that element to the performance.
I have another question from Kristen. What can us non-musicians do to make music and opera accessible to more people?
Okay,
And
Tim.
Well,
Sorry.
I think there's many paths to finding your way, but I think the first thing to do is support an organization. Go buy a ticket and see something. Go support these institutions. I wanted to mention I work on the board at the Community Music Center, and we actually give many, many free performances there. And I just, again, love that educational aspect for people that want to get into music. There are smaller programs that make opera can seem very far from the auditor. It can seem like almost untouchable. In some of these smaller venues, you get to be up close and personal. You get to see people sweat. You get to see them do their art and craft and see how excited they are to be on stage. I think it's just showing up to a performance and starting to support and encourage. I encourage anybody to check out, you know, an opera anywhere. It doesn't have to be on the SF opera stage. So there's many ways to be involved in that world.
Well, and I would add, I think if people who are wanting to reach out, one of the best ways to do it is to make opera and music a part of the conversation, a part to know, to experience something and be able to talk about it. And you don't have to know everything about the opera and all the things that the musical director might know and explain at an opera if he were giving a speech beforehand. You can have some small aspect that you are passionate about. It can be the costume, it can be the clothes, the makeup, the lights, it could be just the music and seeing the presence of the person moving about on the stage, or any little thing. And one of the things that I've learned about conversation, because I've been having to do these lectures on the fly with only a week's preparation for each one, pretty much, is that if you can just focus on a particular detail and spend some time with that, you don't have to know everything. Just learn something about one particular detail, something that interests you, and then build on that. And overcoming one. Sometimes people are shy to talk about things, and just sharing things with your friends, arranging to be at an event, to bring guests, to sometimes get involved with someone who might be producing something, and offer support in that way, to make introductions. That can be a very thing now, Tim and Michelle, and an introduction to a particular situation. These are all things that can be very helpful. And maybe we can even segue a little bit into talking about the pandemic. I remember when Sharon introduced me to both of you, I think it's been several months ago, and it was very new, the pandemic. And the musicians have been there's no words to describe what it's like to have all events shut down. It's been something. And so one of the conversations that we had was, well, here we are. We're not just going to stop doing music, right? We're going to continue with that. So what can we do to work with the technology, to work with Zoom? And you and I, both of you and I have spent some time with Kendall and my brother Michael and the staff at the Metropolitan Club to look at lights and how you set up things in your home to be able to do a performance. And I think at some point in the future, you're going to be doing some live performances during the pandemic. Is that right?
That's probably the way to do it. I think it's good to have this technology to support us wherever the situation is. Starting with, we bought this Roland Stage piano to cope with the situation. Sometimes we don't have a piano. And with the COVID, thanks to COVID, it created new opportunities, even for musicians. That's how I see it. And of course, we had to thank Karen to your information for the devices, different, what to buy, how to set up. All these grateful tips has been very helpful. So,
Yeah, it's kind of pushed us into another way of being with music. I think this is going to serve us well. I keep looking for the silver linings in COVID, because it can be daunting to just see numbers and that news. But in music, it's been wonderful. And I do think Zoom is working on, we have a bit of a delay thing with music where you can't play through your computer. But I found a way to make my own accompaniments on my phone and then use that and sing with Zoom. And you can actually have a performance. It's quite remarkable. We're so lucky.
I think as we move forward, that things are going to be changed forever because of the pandemic. And because we found an opportunity to reach out to people in other countries that we know. Here at the Metropolitan Club, we have a lot of non-resident members, and most of us members have friends internationally, and I know you both do as well. And so the opportunity to be able to do something that you could do live and then have it also broadcast where people from far away could see it, I think it's worth solving the technical problems,
I agree.
I know that both of you have studied and know a lot about what music does for adults and children, and of all ages, actually, as far as stimulating the mind and stimulating the hand. I mean, the coordination between body and mind and emotion. Do you have anything that you can share with us about that benefit of music?
Well, for me, there's so many elements that are taught through music. And that's why, again, I love the educational arm of music. It teaches so much in collaboration, teamwork. I mean, you must work at languages and practicing and creating disciplines. And I think all those things have served me well in life. I've adopted a lot of that into my work life, my personal life, besides my music life. And again, that's just part of what you have to do. When you mentioned the question about somebody young starting out, it's like, it's wonderful to start out and enjoy music and be part of it, but there's a lot of hard work, and that's the payoff, is when you see these performances that we're watching. It's like, that was worth every second that I put into it. So I enjoy that part, the process.
One of the things that I've started to do is to play the piano. And I remember, I mean, because I've been producing, I've always been surrounded by musicians from the very first time I was exposed to music, who were so advanced and so much more accomplished than I was as a beginner, basically. And I developed my skills in production and hosting and being able to talk, but I really have a passion for the piano. And so just before the pandemic, I had moved into a new place, and I had the opportunity to house the Steinway 9-foot that came from Fantasy Studios. And so I've just been doing scales, and they're just simple, just going through, C, D, E, A, B, and so forth, and just learning how to do a scale routine that Kendall had done. And that's not something I'm ever going to be doing on a broadcast. It's not something I'm ever going to be performing for people, but I find that the discipline of being able to understand the structure of the music and how the notes are in the fingering is actually quite fascinating to me, because I'm a system of systems kind of student, and music is its own system. It's very, very interesting to see how it works, from the to learn the alphabet, as it were.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention, Karen, you were talking about, like, starting out being a beginner, professionals, all this world of really great musicians. And I think the one big thing I've learned in music, and sometimes I need to be reminded, is to not compare myself, and to really go after what I'm doing and enjoy that process, enjoy that creation that then turns into a musical event, and do it for the collaboration, me and Michelle or whomever we're working with, and really enjoy that, and not worry so much about how good I am compared to someone else. That's just all really subjective and not helpful in the process.
It took me a lot of years, actually, to have the courage to be able to be a beginner in the piano, having been in the past married to a concert pianist for 33 years.
that would be daunting.
And so, but I have that confidence now and knowledge of it. And certainly, if, back to this question that Gert asked, what can us non-musicians do to make music or opera more accessible to more people? I think just having music being a part of one's life, and having the courage to just express opinions about it, to learn how to have opinions about it, to discern the things that you can enjoy. We're now at the end of our conversation time, and we have some delightful performances. One of the first performances we're going to watch is going to be, Tim, you will be singing at that Autodesk performance with Michelle, and so we'll get an opportunity to hear your voice. And then we're going to also share, there'll be 30 minutes of music that is performed by both, I'm sorry, Thank you. I just got a message that Sharon Litsky is going to give us a conclusion, and I so appreciate Brianna bringing that to my attention, because I would be remiss not to hand it back to Sharon, who's the one who started it all.
It's just really to officially thank Michelle and Tim and Karen for providing such a wonderful morning of music and conversation. I've known Michelle and Tim for quite a while. I've heard them perform many times, and it's never enough. It was just a great way to start our day. So thank you. And also thank you to Brianna Werder, our technical producer, who helps make these online programs possible. And just also a reminder to club members to continue to check the club's calendar, because we have lots of other interesting presentations coming up. And as Karen said, please stay on Zoom. We've got more entertainment from Michelle and Tim. I hope to see all of you. And for my part, bye-bye.
Porque solo quiero, porque solo quiero, chiquitita la cama y el mosquitero. Oh, lullaby to Bertrand, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never my words, and could there be ways to reveal in the phrase how I feel? Have you ever heard two turtle doves, pale and cool, when they love? That's a kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how they cried in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birds and whisper low, kiss me sweet when we go. Fly hiding birds and hide in the sky up above. Oh, because we love. That's a kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how they cried in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby the birds and whisper low, kiss me sweet, and we'll go flying high above and hide in the sky up above. Oh, because we There's something in your eyes makes me wanna lose myself. Makes me wanna lose myself in your arms. There's something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope is feeling light. sont deux, balayer les amours, et pour le trémolo, balayer pour toujours, je repars à zéro. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien, car ma vie, car mes jours oubliés, ça commence avec toi. Von ferne kommt der Glockenschlag, so reist die Zeit die ganze Nacht, nimmt manchen mit, der's nicht gedacht. Wo ist nun hin die bunte Lust, wo fällt die Trost und treue Brust, die liebsten süßen Augenschein? Wir keine mit mir munter sein, frisch auf die Liebe Nachtigall, du warst so voll mit hellen Schein. Wollen wir vereint, bis das gelichte Morgenschein. Wollen wir vereint, bis das gelichte Ho sognato che stavi a ginocchi come un santo che prega il Signore. Ho provato a partire alla morte, or mi vincere il destino. who